Imagine you're in Kiev on a winter night. The lights flicker. The air is tense. Somewhere beyond the horizon, a launcher fires, and a missile rises into the sky, then another, and another, because modern air raids aren't about one strike. They're about rhythm. Exhaustion. Pressure. It's a pattern designed to wear a country down, keep people awake, keep cities on edge, keep the power grid unstable, keep leaders forced to choose what to protect and what to sacrifice. And that's exactly why one particular air defense system has become the kind of problem Russia hates to see in Ukraine. Not because it's magical. Not because it makes missiles disappear. But because it ruins the logic of the raid. It turns a sure thing into a question mark. It turns fear into calculation. And in war, the moment fear stops doing its job, everything changes. The system is called NASAMS, short for the National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile System. Developed with major Norwegian involvement through Kongsberg, and widely associated with a partnership that includes the US defense industry as well. It's one of the modern air defense solutions that fits a brutal reality. In a country under repeated long-range attacks, you don't just need courage. You need a network that can see, decide, and respond fast enough to protect lives and infrastructure. Now, when people hear air defense, they often imagine a single giant battery, parked in one place, like an unmovable shield. A famous system, a big radar, a big launcher, a single target. But NASAMS is better understood like a living system rather than a single machine. It's eyes. A brain. Hands. And teeth. The eyes are the sensors and radars that search the sky. The brain is the command and control node that fuses what the sensors see and decides what matters. The hands are the launchers, positioned where they can cover critical areas. And the teeth are the interceptors, the missiles that do the hard job of meeting an incoming threat before it hits what it's aiming for. That network idea is the first reason Russia hates seeing it in Ukraine. Because a network doesn't have to stand in one place. A network doesn't have to be easy to predict. A network can be spread out. Dispersed. Adaptive. It can protect more than one type of target. It can defend large areas, depending on how it's deployed and how it's integrated. And it can keep functioning even when the attacker is trying to confuse the picture, sending drones, missiles, decoys, mixed salvos, and layered strikes designed to overwhelm. When you hear reports of waves of drones and missiles, what you're really hearing is an attempt to overload the defender's decision-making. It's not only a contest of hardware. It's a contest of time. How quickly can a defender detect? Track? Identify? Decide? Engage? That's the second reason Russia hates it. NASAMS is built around speed of decisions. In modern air defense, seconds matter. You cannot wait for perfect information. You need a system that can process what it sees and assign the right response without hesitation, and that depends on command and control, the brain being designed for rapid, networked engagement. Kongsberg describes NASAMS as a system where the radar and launcher elements can be distributed over a large area, increasing coverage and survivability. That's not just marketing language. It's a design philosophy. Don't concentrate everything in one place where it can be targeted easily. Disperse. Connect. Coordinate. And when a defender can disperse, the attacker's job becomes harder. Suddenly, the attacker can't simply destroy the air defense as a single objective. Instead, it becomes a long game of hunting a moving, distributed puzzle, while still trying to hit actual targets on the ground. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so it's networked. But what does that actually mean for Ukraine? It means that when Russia launches strikes at power infrastructure, transport hubs, industrial targets, or major cities, Ukraine's air defenders are forced to make hard choices. What do we protect right now? What do we let pass because we can't be everywhere at once? How do we keep enough capability for tomorrow night's attack, and the night after that? This is where NASAMS matters not only as a technical system, but as a strategic tool. Because a raid is a psychological weapon. If the raid can't guarantee results, if missiles and drones are frequently intercepted, then the psychological impact changes. It becomes less, we can hit you whenever we want, and more, we might hit you, but we might not. That uncertainty is poison to coercion. And coercion is what long-range terror strikes aim to create. That's why air defense is not just defense. It's national stamina. It keeps people alive. It keeps hospitals operating. It keeps the grid from collapsing completely. It keeps factories working. It keeps logistics moving. It keeps morale from breaking. And that's also why missile supply is everything. An air defense system is only as strong as its ability to keep firing when it needs to fire. In a war with repeated strike waves, the question is not, can it intercept? The question is, can it intercept again, and again, and again? This is where Norway's role becomes especially important. On January 22, 2026, Norway's government publicly stated that it had delivered a significant number of air defense missiles to Ukraine to ensure that the Norwegian-developed NASAMS system can continue to protect the country as Russian attacks continue. That statement tells you something crucial. NASAMS is not just present in Ukraine. It's expected to remain operational and active. It's expected to stay in the fight. And if you want to understand why Russia hates seeing NASAMS in Ukraine, you have to understand what it means when a defender can keep replenishing air defense capability. Because Russia's strike campaign, especially the long-range part of it, often leans on a simple hope that Ukraine will eventually run out. Run out of interceptors. Run out of usable systems. Run out of trained crews. Run out of the ability to cover everything. And while no air defense network can promise perfect coverage across a country as large as Ukraine, sustained resupply changes the direction of the story. It suggests that the defender is not simply surviving attacks. The defender is adapting to them. Now, let's make this more concrete, still in plain language. NASAMS is widely associated with using missiles from the AMRAAM family as a key effector, which matters because it connects the system to a broader industrial ecosystem. You're not relying on a single obscure missile line. You're using an interceptor family that already exists in large numbers and has been integrated into air defense roles, including variants designed for ground-based air defense. RTX describes NASAMS as a medium-range air defense solution, built from a sensor, a command and control node, launchers, and effectors that include AMRAAM and other options depending on configuration. The details can get technical quickly, but the meaning is simple. The system has a mature supply chain, and it can be supported and replenished by allies in ways that are harder for an attacker to shut down. That doesn't mean infinite missiles. It means something else: resilience. And resilience is what Russia's strike strategy is trying to break. Now, if we pull back and look at the big picture, Ukraine's air defense isn't one single system. It's a patchwork of different Western-supplied systems, Soviet legacy gear, various ranges, various interceptors, various radars, and various training pipelines. That patchwork is both a strength and a challenge. It's a strength because it gives Ukraine options. Different systems can handle different threats. A layered approach can complicate the attacker's planning. But it's also a challenge because every system has its own maintenance, its own logistics, its own way of operating, and its own missile supply. That's why when a system like NASAMS becomes reliably supplied, it can become a backbone for certain areas, especially the defense of critical infrastructure and high-value zones. In a war where Russia repeatedly targets energy infrastructure, that matters enormously, because the goal is not only physical damage. The goal is economic strangulation and social pressure. And again, that brings us back to why Russia hates seeing NASAMS in Ukraine. Because NASAMS isn't just a piece of equipment, it's a signal. It says, this air defense problem isn't going away. It says, you can't simply wait us out. It says, your raids will keep meeting resistance. And even more importantly, it says, your raids may fail. That changes the attacker's calculations. In war, every missile fired is a cost. Every drone launched is a cost. Every strike package is a cost. And if a significant fraction of those attacks are intercepted, the attacker faces an uncomfortable question: are we spending scarce resources for diminishing results? Even when the attacker can still do damage, interception reduces efficiency. It reduces predictability. It forces changes in routes, timing, and tactics, high-level, broad changes, not secret details, because the attacker is trying to find gaps. But the defender is trying to close gaps. This becomes a competition of adaptation, and NASAMS is built for adaptive defense. Now, to be clear, no air defense system is invincible. No system makes a country immune to strikes. The reality is harsh, the sky is big, the territory is vast, and the attacker will always try new ways to penetrate. But the point is not perfection. The point is denial. The point is making it hard enough, costly enough, and uncertain enough that the strike campaign stops achieving what it's trying to achieve psychologically and strategically. And one of the most powerful, soft, effects of a strong air defense is that it gives civilian life a chance to continue. People still go to work. Trains still run. Hospitals still function. Emergency services can operate without being completely overwhelmed. Children can sleep some nights. And an economy can remain at least partially alive. Those things don't sound like battlefield wins, but they are national survival wins. And in a long war, national survival wins accumulate. So how does Russia typically try to beat air defense, at a broad, general level? One method is saturation, launching more threats than defenders can engage. Another is mixing threat types. Drones with missiles, or different kinds of missiles, trying to create confusion and exhaustion. Another is trying to destroy the air defense components themselves, targeting radar sites or launchers when they can be found. NASAMS counters this, in principle, with dispersion, networking, and mobility, concepts that make it harder to treat the air defense as one easy, fixed target. And because it can be integrated and operated as part of a broader defensive architecture, it becomes another layer Russia has to account for in planning. All of that is why it's so revealing when Norway says openly that it has delivered additional air defense missiles so that NASAMS can continue to protect Ukraine. That's not just a shipment. That's a strategic statement. It says, we understand the nature of this war. Air defense is not a one-time gift. It's a sustained requirement. And it's also worth saying plainly, this war has reshaped European thinking about air defense. Many European states are taking air defense more seriously than they have in decades, because the reality of mass missile and drone attacks is no longer theoretical. It's visible. Night after night. So, if you're Russia, what do you want? You want Ukraine's air defenses to be thin, exhausted, and undersupplied. You want the raids to feel inevitable. You want the defender to feel helpless, because helplessness is the true weapon in a strike campaign against cities. But NASAMS helps deny that helplessness. It helps replace helplessness with resistance. It helps turn terror into a contest. And that's why Russia hates seeing it. Because the system isn't just intercepting objects in the air. It's intercepting a strategy. It's intercepting the idea that Ukraine can be broken from above. And if you want a final way to understand this, think of air defense like an argument. Russia's long-range strike campaign is an argument that says, we can hit you whenever we want, and you can't stop us. NASAMS is part of the reply that says, you can try. But you don't get to decide the outcome alone. And in war, when an attacker loses control of outcomes, the war becomes harder, longer, and more uncertain. So the next time you see footage of drones buzzing in the dark, or missiles streaking across the sky, remember, what you're watching isn't only explosions and interceptions. You're watching a battle over momentum. You're watching whether fear can still do its job. And systems like NASAMS, kept supplied, networked, and integrated, are one of the reasons fear doesn't always win. If you want, in the next video we can break down another system shaping the war in the skies. How it works in plain language, what it's designed to stop, and why it matters for civilians as much as soldiers. So if you found this useful, subscribe, and comment which air defense system you want next, Patriot, Iris-T, SAMP/T, or something else, and I'll build the next breakdown around your pick.